Hey up everyone, welcome back. Right, today we get to our final episode on the big bore kit. But before we do that, I have a couple of messages. First of all, I'd like to say a thank you, and a very big thank you, to all the people who have subscribed. I'm 520 something now, so I take it I must be doing something right. So again, thanks very much. Next thing I'd like to do is read some viewer mail. But unfortunately I haven't got any, so we'll pass that. Next thing is a message for Steam Shop Dave, and here it is. So, do you feel homesick, Dave, or are you quite content sitting by the pool with your pina colada? Next thing is a message for Dick. Dick knows who he is, so Dick, no more skipping through the video. You watch it from beginning to end like everybody else. Alright? Think that's everything, so we can now get to this. I have one interesting little thing to show you here, which when I zoom in to talk about our conrod and what have you, I'll show you that first. So let's get on. Now some of you may have watched the videos where I was doing the B44, some of the little hints and tips and a couple of things I made for it. Well, one of the things I did was I put a new rear sprocket on, 16 tooth. So I put it on and then, you know, put the clutch and the alternator and everything like that on. Then I put the chain on, with the chain case on, all that sort of stuff. When I went to turn the wheel, it would turn halfway and then it would just stop and it wouldn't go. Turn it back, halfway around, stop and it wouldn't go. So I looked and I looked and I fiddled and fiddled. And then I noticed, using a little mirror so I could see inside the chain case, that when it stopped, it wasn't, say, for instance, going that way, that it was tight on the top run and low on the bottom. It was tight top and bottom. So I thought, well, that's funny. That means the wheel's getting further away from the gearbox to stretch the chain. So I fiddled around for ages, and then I got my mirror and I looked up at the gearbox sprocket. Now when I put this gearbox sprocket on, I checked it first of all to make sure it was right for a 520 chain. Everything seemed good. However, if I had put the chain on about here, I would have found that happened. Just my luck, eh? Brand new sprocket, it's been cut wrong. So of course, off comes the clutch and everything else. So anyway, I just thought you'd be interested to see that, and maybe it would put you in mind that whenever you buy a new sprocket, try chain all the way around it. I certainly will in future. Okay. Our barrel, as you know, is all done. Just been cleaning up the piston and give the barrel a bit of a horn, because as a little bonus, when this liner was shrunk in, it actually pulled in a few thou, so our used liner was able to be horned out nicely to our 3 thou clearance. So that's all set to go on. Next thing we have to do is open out this eye, because somewhere I have them. It's too small for the gudgeon pin to go in this piston. So as we're going to do this job in situ, I needed to be able to ream this out in situ. Stupid redundant phrase, Michael, but never mind. It would have been a lot easier, of course, if the engine was stripped, to just put it down something flat, make sure everything was lined up in the mill or a drill press, and run the ream through. But as I say, we didn't want to take all the engine to pieces, so I had to come up with a way to do this with the rod still in. So what I needed was a guide block, a jig for the ream to be the right size for that. So what I did was I made this up, and basically what this is, as I say, a guide on this side for the ream, and then a holding plate. So we put that on, we tighten it up, and that will guide the ream before it even gets to the small end eye. But of course we're going to make sure this is absolutely straight and everything is right. So I also made up a little centering tool. So this end is the diameter of the original small end, so it's the diameter of the BSA pin, and this is the diameter of the Yamaha pin. So what we'll do is we'll pop that on, then we'll put this in and line it up somehow. Come on, there we go. Then we can tighten these up, and then we'll take that out and ream through. So this is the job for today. We're going to do this. I've already got the bike up on the lift and stripped the barrel and head and everything off. So we'll do that, and we'll put the piston on. We're also going to, actually before I put the piston on, just run the barrel down onto there and make sure nothing catches at the bottom. It shouldn't touch the flywheels. We had a little bit of serendipity. I was thinking that because the bore was bigger, I was going to have to open out the head gasket. As I mentioned, I knew it'd be alright this size because we were still at the original diameter, so I knew the base gasket would fit on fine. But I thought I would have to open out the head gasket a little bit. But I was forgetting that the standard barrel has the raised lip, and the head gasket goes around that lip. Clonk. So it turns out that when I put that on, we're spot on. I was even happy to note actually that it was about the same size all the way around. Although you'll notice here you never get a couple of gaskets the same. Actually you don't even get the castings the same. So we'll do that. Then what we're going to do, before we get everything buttoned up and see as I mentioned in the first video, whether it works or whether it blows up, I want to know what the compression ratio is. So we're going to put this on and the piston on, and we're going to do some volumetric measurements. Let's talk a little about compression ratios to make sure we're all on the same page. And this is the page we were talking about. Here we have our barrel, or our bore should I say, and here we have our head, or the head space anyway. Now compression ratio is the ratio of the volume in the engine at bottom dead center, so when the piston is down there, to the volume when the piston is at top dead center, when it's up here. Now don't think that means that, for instance, with our B25 with a 10 to 1 and it's 250, that the head space is going to be 25 cc's. So 250 is going to go into 25, so it's going to be compressed 10 times. Because it's not. That would only work if this head space was completely void, if it was a vacuum in fact. Then you would be putting 250 cc's into an empty space, but it's not. It's already full. When the gas comes in, it fills the whole thing. So the 250 cc's is what's known as the swept volume, and that's because it's the amount of the bore that the barrel sweeps through. Now that's a simple bit of maths. It's the bore versus the stroke. Well, it's, you use pi, 2 pi r, oh wait, hang on, wrong one, that's circumference, pi r squared to get the surface area of the barrel times the stroke. See why I didn't become a teacher, can you? So we know that's basically 250, 247 or whatever it is. So if that was 25 cc's, then actually we would be crushing 250 plus 25 into those 25, which would be 275, so the compression ratio would be actually 11 to 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the head and we're going to measure the volume of the head. Easy enough done. We're just going to turn it over with a spark plug in. I'll get a measuring cylinder and we'll pour some light oil in. I'll use automatic transmission fluid because it's red. It's easy to see in the measuring cylinder. we'll measure that headspace. Now, as I say, the swept volume we just calculate. So we know it's going to be, I think, 301 cc for this, because it's going to be 74mm bore and 70 stroke. But also, don't forget, the piston doesn't actually come all the way up to that. I mean, we won't get into the technicalities of the piston having a dome. Let's just say it was a flat top piston, but it wouldn't come quite to the top. So there's going to be this little space as well. So what we need to know is the swept volume, this little space, and the cylinder head volume. So as I say, cylinder head volume is easy to measure. What we're going to do is, when we put the barrel and the piston on, I'm just going to put a little bit of grease around the edge of the piston to seal it at top dead centre, and then pour some liquid in to bring it up to here and measure that volume. Then we'll add that, that and that, and divide it by that plus that. And that will give us our correct compression ratio, and then we can decide if we need to do anything to the piston. So I take it the next thing to do is to go over to the bike and put the barrel on, then the piston on, then make the measurements, and then if we're happy, we'll bolt it all together and we'll see if it works. So here we are, ready to do our reaming. Now I gave myself a little bit of a start with this. Here's the reamer, hand reamer, and I don't know why, but I got it fixed in my mind that this was 16 and the Yamaha one was 17mm. So when I was getting everything out ready, I noticed that the reamer I'd bought, I don't know if you can see that, probably not, is 18mm. So I stomped around a little bit thinking, damn, I'm going to have to order another reamer. But I measured the two gudgeon pins, and it turns out that I was right. The Yamaha one is 18mm, and the BSA one is actually about 17.5. So I don't know where I got the 16 and 17 for, but anyway, and nobody mentioned it. So the first thing I'm going to do is put on our little reaming jig. I'll have to go around the other side to tighten it up. Let's put that in. There we go. So that's that set, 18mm down to 17 and a bit. Just using some paraffin or kerosene to our US viewers. Now, if you have a reamer and you don't have a T-handle to fit this, which I actually don't because it's so large, you could use a spanner, but that's going to make you get all sort of wobbly and you're not going to go straight. You could try using two spanners, but you can see how difficult that is. So what you need to do is find yourself a socket which is just a good fit on, and put your T-handle on that. So here we go. Where's my little squirt gone? I'm actually putting some in through the little lubrication hole in the top of the con rod. Some in from the other side. Make sure this cloth here is not going to let anything drop in. Those bits out now before we go any further. Nearly there. Lubricant. Blocks are getting stuck on the studs there. Stop doing that. Now when you're using a ream, don't wind it back out. It's not a spiral on these, it's straight, so when you pull it out, keep it going the way you were going. You don't want to be running against the back of the cutting edge. Just clean this off. Lube. It is virtually through now. There we go. get my little blower. And there we go. No play, just nice. So let's get this out here. Then what we're going to do is put the barrel on, as I say, and make sure that we can turn the engine over and nothing is going to catch on the flywheels or anything of that sort. So out this is going to come. There we go. Very nice. Oh, there it is. I might just ease that. There we go. Everything is fine. There we go. So, next thing we're going to do is put the piston on and put our base gasket on, and then, as I say, we'll do some measurements. So let me switch off a second while I get myself organised to do that, and so we don't run over the 20 minutes of this thing. Right, first of all we'll put the piston on. These gudgeon pins just push straight through. They don't have to heat the piston up like we did with the BSA. Why does that hole always disappear? There it goes. Something to push it in with. Not that it matters. Now, before anybody shouts out, I know I haven't put a pin in here, but as I might have to take the piston off to work on the top, I'm not going to put the pin in yet. Right. This barrel up a little to help that go on. Oh look, I forgot my plumbing. Oh. I've got supports for the piston. this one's more or less behaving itself. Well, just the usual, I think it'd be easier with the kickstart anyway. Well, that's pretty good. Ouch! That's one of those things, it was out of camera, but I knew when I put that measuring cylinder full of oil that I'd knock it over. Let me switch you off while I clean it up. In fact, look at this. Look at that. Isn't that awful? Alright, let's put you right. Well, as you can see there, the flat part of the piston actually comes up basically level with that. It's fractionally below. So we're going to have to go to a different plan, because now what we're going to have to do is measure the volume of the head and then, excuse me a moment, gave up. Measure the volume of the head and then deduct this volume. Well, fortunately it's almost an oblong. So what I'm going to do is measure the height, which is 4 millimeters, and then it's basically the light shining on this really awkwardly. 4 millimeters by 70 by 40, we'll say. 4 by 70 by 40. So let's go and do some maths. Now we're going to measure the volume of the head. I've set it up so that it's level. We started off with 100 cc's in the measuring cylinder. And that is basically it. So we'll let that settle down. And we have used 10, 20, 30, 40, 45 cc's. So the cylinder head is 45 cc's. Now that shows you how domed the BSA piston is, because as I said, we were only looking at, 25, maybe 30 cc's if it was a flat top piston to get us to 10 to 1. We've actually got 45. So let me see if I can move this without this going all over the place. Yeah. Alright, that's to one side. Okay. So let's see. Oh! God, that's heavy. Can you see that? Not very well. Alright, let's see what we've got. Now, the top of the piston, that sort of oblong, came to 11 cc's basically. So, at top dead centre, we're going to have 34 cc's in the head. Right, so now we don't have a piston space. So we've got 335 cc's going divided by 34. So that's going to be just under 10 to 1, isn't it? 335 divided by 34 equals 9.8. That's the compression ratio, 9.8, which obviously is not what we want. Interestingly enough, for anybody who just wants to up their B25 capacity, that'll give you basically the same as you did have, but an extra 50 cc's. So what do we need? Right, well, let's think. We need something bigger at the top and take something off that. So let's say we took that down to being only 5 cc's, that oblong. Alright, so that would mean there would be 40 in the top, so it would be 341. So it would be 341 divided by 40, 8.5. So we want to take about 5 cc's off that. So as we know, the area of it is, see, it's not going to be much. 7 times 4, which costs us 28. And we want it to be down to 5. 7 by 4. If we want that to be 5, we've got to multiply it by what? 0.2? God. Do you know what? I got top marks in chemistry and biology all the time. My maths is atrocious. That's why I was good at physics when it was, you know, electricity and stuff like that. But as soon as we got into mechanics, oh, I was hopeless. So in order not to embarrass myself, I'm going to work this out, and then we'll go to the mill and take some off this piston. Now, much to my amazement, 0.2 was right. That would give me about 8.6. And taking off 0.3 would give me around 8. So I'm going to take off 2.5, 0.25 centimeters. So we'll touch off, and then I'll use the little readout thing here, and we'll take off 0.25 of a centimeter. And this is in millimeters, so that's 2.5 millimeters. That's 0. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is just ease off this edge here so we can get the gas to... We want some turbulence in there, but we don't want it to be hitting a ledge. So I'll just ease that with a file and then we'll put it back in. Just in case any of you are wondering how I was holding this in the vise, I got 2 pieces of 1/2 inch stock. They're actually 2 1/2 inch high-speed steel tool bits up against the flats where the gudgeon pin goes, so they're nice and flat, so they just fit in and make it all nice. There we are, all back together with our piston on. That sounds very nice. So I've put a new, well not a new, a nice, they re-annealed the gasket, so we're all set for that. So I'll put the head and rocker box and exhaust and bits and pieces on and bring you back for the start. A couple of last little things I thought of I'll show you before I box it up. One of course is, although I measured the piston crown and the valve cutaways and stuff just to make sure nothing touching. And also, as we did use a used piston and what have you, again I checked the piston ring gaps, but let's just see what we get in the way of compression, because no compression, no start. There you are, you can see the gauge, so we're all right. Bad for the first kick. $120. That's fine for this compression ratio, absolutely. So as I say, let me put the carb and everything on and then we'll see if it'll start. Alright then, let's see what's going to happen. Not much petrol in it. Alright, as soon as we've got rid of some of the snow, I'll go out and check, see what it rides like. So there's another project finished, all bar the tuning the carburetor and seeing how it works. I've been really pleased with this one, to be quite honest, because there have been some milling procedures and so on and measurements that I haven't really done before. Pardon me. So, as I say, I'm quite chuffed with this one. If anybody else wants to try it, make any comments you like, send me an email. You can go through the website www.britanniamotorcycles.com and I'll pass on any information or any advice that I can think of to you. Winter is nearly finished. We seem to be coming into some warm weather, so the snow should go and I'll be able to get out on this. After that, we've got to think of some more projects. I have a couple of things lined up. I have a Norton Commando frame laying about and a nice pair of Kawasaki forks, and I fancy fitting a V-twin into it, which of course will make it part British, part Japanese, but hey, what the hell. And then I have all sorts of other stuff laid about. So that's all for this one, and look forward to talking to you when we start our next project. Bye for now.